Alright, this is college algebra, and this is 3.3c. And what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go over one problem here. And this is number 45 out of lesson 3.3. And it's asking you to factor. So we're trying to factor this. Find out my linear factors, something times something times something. And because I have 4 right there, I'm going to have 4 factors. Okay, so I'm trying to find out what those 4 factors are, and that will tell me where it crosses the x-axis. That'll tell me what my roots are, what my answers are, what my number is that will make, my numbers are that will, when I plug them in here, give me 0 for an answer, my y part of my coordinates. Alright, so this is, again, we just try some numbers. So for instance, let's say we put in, let's say that we're going to try x plus 1. So we're going to put a negative 1 in there. And we have a 1, a negative 7, a 9, a 27, and a negative 54. So again, we take this number, this, and this, and their signs. Okay, we draw a line, we bring this 1 down, and we get negative 1, negative 8, 8, 17, negative 17, 10, negative 10, and we get negative 64. So negative 1 is not one of our factors that actually works here. So this does not work. Alright, so after we do that, we pick some other numbers, and in this case, let's pick a positive 1. So we bring this 1 down. That gives me 1, negative 6, negative 6, 3, 3, 30, 30. So dang, that doesn't work either. Alright, so let's erase all this and look for some other numbers. So instead of negative 1, and again, this is just kind of trial and error. You're just kind of picking numbers that may work. Let's try negative 2. So if negative 2 works, that means x plus 2 would be a factor. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. Bring down our 1, negative 2, negative 9, 18, 27. This would negative 2 times 27, negative 54, negative 27, 54 gives me a 0. So negative 2 does work. So x plus 2 is actually one of my answers. So again, how many times do I do this? Well, once I find this number is 2 bigger than 2, it's always how much bigger than 2 is this. That tells me how many numbers I have to find. So I found 1. So I've got to find 1 more. So before I go into that, let me write what I've got. I found one factor is x plus 2 because negative 2 worked. My result then is this. X cubed minus 9x squared plus 27x minus 27. Okay, so what I did is when I factored the x plus 2 out, I wrote 1, remember that's 1 less than that, x cubed, so cubed is less than 4th, minus 9x squared plus 27x minus 27. So this is what I have left when I factored in x plus 2 out of this. This is what I have left. So I don't have to worry about this anymore. Now I'm looking at this. So I'm looking at this here. Okay, so let's bring all this goop out of here because I don't need it anymore, and that's all I'm looking at. So now I'm trying to find what factors into this. What goes into this evenly? So it's like, well, let's see. What could I try in there? I could try a negative 2. And let's go 1, negative 9, 27, negative 27. Bring the 1 down, 2, negative 7, negative 14. Let's see, that's 10, 13, 20. No, that's not going to work. So 2 does not work. Alright, so what do I want to try next? Let's go ahead and try 3. So get a 1, 3, negative 6, negative 18, that's a 9, 27, 0. Okay, so 3 works. So my other factor, other than x plus 2, is going to be x minus 3. So I'm going to get rid of all this stuff I can without erasing everything. So my other one that worked was x, oops, I need to get, x minus 3. And what did that leave me with on the bottom? I'm going to have to get that back, aren't I? There we go. So x minus 3 worked. And that left me with x squared minus 6x plus 9. So I took 3 into this, 1, negative 9, 27, negative 27 from here, solved it, and once I pulled an x minus 3 out, I was left with this. Okay, 1 less than this gives me an x squared minus 6x plus 9. So what I have here is an x plus 2, the x minus 3 I just discovered, and an x squared minus 6x plus 9, which is what I have left. And remember, once I get down to an x squared, I'm done. So this 2, this term, and this term adds up to 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So I pull 2 out, and I'm left with an x squared, which makes it easy then for me to not have to do synthetic division anymore. So I have x plus 2 times x minus 3 times, what does x squared minus 6x plus 9 factor down to? It factors down to x, two numbers multiplied together give me that, added give me that. Okay, so now I have an x minus 3 with a multiplicity of 3. So what did I get? I got 4 answers, just like my x to the 4th was up here in my original problem, even though these are the same. So what are my zeros? What makes that 0? And what makes these 0? So there's where it crosses my x-axis at negative 2 and 3. So even though I got 4 answers, because these 3 are the same, I got 4 answers, I only end up with 2 because this has a multiplicity of 3 plus this one here is 1, gives me my 4 there. So there's one, I did everything you need to know in order to do these, but there's one part that's always complicated that I'm going to do, number 43, just to kind of help you with that. Okay, so actually this is 46. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm finding the factors. Let's see. It's always good to start with like 1 and negative 1. So we're going to start with 1, and we're going to write 1, negative 4, negative 7, 34, negative 24. Okay, bring down the 1, get 1, negative 3, negative 3, negative 10, negative 10, 24, 24, 0. Okay, so 1 works. So that means one of the factors is the opposite of 1, x minus 1. And that means what I have left over is this here. So again, this x, 1x is going to be 1 less than that. So it's going to be x cubed, and then we just go down from there. Okay? So what happens here is now we have to find another factor, because again, this is a 4. We have to find the number of factors above x squared. So we found 1, we have to find 1 more, and then we'll be down to an x squared. So because we went from an x fourth to an x cubed, now we need to go from an x cubed to an x squared so that we can solve the x squared part. So we ignore all this part. We're already done with all of that. So we can take all of this and get it out of there. We don't care about it anymore. We're just concerned about this part of it right there. So now I'm going to see if I can find a factor of this. So let's say, for instance, I try 2. 1, negative 3, negative 10, 24. Bring down my 1, 2, negative 1, negative 2, negative 12, negative 24, 0. Okay, hunky-dory, that works. So that gives me my negative 1 that I found earlier. Gives me a negative 2, an x minus 2, and then whatever I have here, x squared minus 1x minus 12. Okay? Once I get this down to an x squared, I am done doing synthetic division. So I had to do it twice to get down to an x squared. So what you're doing is you just always take the bottom answer, like we did here. This is the bottom, and we made a polynomial out of that. We did synthetic division with anything we wanted, tried it, and it happened to work because I have the answer key and I wanted to make sure it worked. And then I get this for my bottom, which is going to be this here. Alright, so then that makes it easy, relatively. And then I can make that into, hopefully, 2 binomials. I could do synthetic division on this, but usually it's just easier just to find 2 binomials that, let's see, negative plus, give you those there. So those are my factors, and my zeros then are 1, 2, 4, and negative 3. So that means that my polynomial from clear back at the beginning crosses the x-axis at 1, 0, 2, 0, 4, 0, negative 3, 0. So basically 4 places, and that's what I had. I started out with an x to the 4th, telling me I had 4 answers, 4 places that it crosses. So that's it for 3.3.